Hey guys, Ryan here. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the gameplay of a viewer named Punjab Prince, and we're going to be breaking down some mistakes I saw in his gameplay. The gameplay in the background currently is mine, but we're going to get into his gameplay at about 30 seconds. I don't want this video to be overly negative, so at the end of this video, I am going to be covering the good things I saw, but in the middle, I am going to be mainly covering mistakes and things to help people improve. Anyways, having said all of that, let's get into it. The very first thing we're going to talk about is going to be stop wasting opportunities. Now, this is going to show itself in multiple ways, but the biggest way I see it is in people not taking time to play. You're going to see here in this fight, they're very weak, their health is low, they currently have 2 plates, and count how many seconds they are not plating. I understand they're worried about the person who shot them, they're worried about all of that, but you can move and plate at the exact same time, and they would have been in the exact same position but played it up much earlier if they would have just started plating earlier. Obviously, this isn't going to apply to every circumstance, and there's going to be plenty of times when you don't want to plate. But more often than not, when I watch people play, they get hurt, they get weak, and rather than instantly plating and instantly repositioning, they're going to take their time, they're going to wait, they're going to try and make sure they can 100% safely plate, and it's going to end up costing them. All in all, this is a super small thing, but if you work on it, you are going to notice a difference in your gameplay. This is also going to lead us into the second part, and that's going to be learn to peak properly. Now, this one is something I think is very important to address for this individual. Now, they know how to play sound properly, and they know how to do a lot of good things very well, and I'm very impressed with their gameplay in general, but this is one major aspect they could really work on. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to often slow peak. Within about 30 seconds, they had 2 examples of this, and this is the first one. I like how they peek the door quietly, but when they come around the corner, they stay aimed down sight, and they are not able to properly see if their enemy's up the stairs, they're not able to properly see if their enemy's to the side, and they are a super easy target to hit. The idea of peeking the door and then slowly peeking out is good in concept, but what you want to do is you want to peek the door so you don't make too much noise, but then you want to kind of fast push out. Here, watch again. They know someone is to their left, and they're going to slow peek this corner. Now, it is great that they are pre-aiming and they are taking the time to get their sights on sight of their target before they get there, but you do not want to be that slow in your peeks. Now, it didn't end up getting them killed in either situation, but those are often going to be times where you're going to die because someone's going to see you slowly coming around the corner, and they're just going to absolutely obliterate you. So for the third thing, this is going to be learn to regain. At this point in the gameplay, they just got their loadout, they're weak, they have no plates, they get into a fight, and rather than take the time to reposition, run away, and find plates, they're going to attempt to beat the person with no resources. But then, not only that, within 10 seconds, they're going to come back from rebirth, they're going to spawn in, they're going to go straight for their loadout, and they're going to die. They're going to be put into the blender, and they're going to go through a cycle of 3-4 deaths that's just going to be really unfortunate. They end up winning this game, so it didn't matter too much, but you have to learn to regain. And what I mean by this is you have to understand that most of the time in the mid game, risking things like grabbing your loadout, going for your old guns, it's not going to be worth it a lot of the time. You're going to see them do something extremely similar when they respawn again, and what you're going to notice is this is going to be a massive portion of the game where they were essentially just dead almost the entire time because they didn't take the time to regain properly. If you really think about it, how often are you going to be able to safely get a loadout at this position in prison? Of course, you ended up getting the loadout, but you're going to die within 10-20 seconds after getting the loadout, and these are all the things to consider. While I understand naturally you do want your loadout, you have to make sure that you're properly taking the care and making sure that you're grabbing your loadout safely. The other thing I would heavily suggest is to land not on your loadout, but land near your loadout, get some ground loot, find some loot from some dead enemies, and then attempt to get your loadout. By just landing on it, you're also giving people the whole enemies in the nearby area call out when you land in with your parachute, and that's going to end up getting you killed. What you are going to end up doing is super smart, and I want to compliment you on it. You're going to see that your teammate is down in this tunnel, you realize that there's loot near him and that you can grab that loot, and that's exactly what you're going to do. And this is actually going to lead me into my fourth point I want to make, and that's understand angles. Okay, so let me explain what I mean by this. You're going to regain, you're going to grab this loot, you're going to get this Vargo, and you're going to be down here with your teammate. You're going to end up noticing your teammate is watching the door, and you are going to end up by staring at the exact same place as your teammate. Rather than understanding you are exposed from two entrances from behind you, you're going to end up staring at the exact same place as your teammate, and it's going to get you killed. Secondly, the other issue with this is even if your teammate were to get attacked by someone through that door, you would not be in position to play trade. And this is a massive, massive thing. It is okay to watch the same angle as long as you're in position to play trade position, and you are in neither of those. You are leaving your back completely exposed, and you are also not playing close enough to pick up their trade if they were to get pushed through that door. All in all, it wasn't the worst play, and I'm not saying, oh, you're bad for making a play. Like, that's not the tone I want for this video. What I want to do is I just want to point out that that's a little thing that you can address by either playing more trade position with your teammate or by watching your back angles in the back entrances. So now on to the final point, and that's to stop waiting and to start rotating. So this is actually a very nicely played end game, but I will say is you make a ton of mistakes by always waiting to rotate. When I look at the little things like your micro positioning, the way that you're playing resources, all of that, you're doing it very well. But when talking about the bigger picture in terms of macro play, you're taking too much time to get into good positioning and you're waiting too much. By waiting that long, you're essentially just hoping that there's no one near you. What I mean by that is most of your rotations, you would have died if there was just even one person in those areas. And that's not usually something you want to rely on. What you first do here is actually very good. You get yourself in a very nice position for this first circle. You're on the edge of it, but you're still pretty much in the center, and you're setting yourself up for a good rotation. However, this is the part where it gets dicey. Rather than taking this time to rotate early and get in another prison cell or find good positioning, you're just going to wait for the circle to push. And while this ends up working out for you, all it would have taken is one person to ruin your entire game by just doing the exact same thing as you. And what I have found is more often than not is people are going to wait to rotate rather than rotating early, and you do not want to be part of that massive group of people rotating when the circle's pushing. One thing that you do very well here is you make sure you get guns, but one thing that I don't like is you go to grab a sniper over another SMG or another assault rifle. You really, really do not want to take a sniper rifle into a 1v1 or an endgame situation unless you're extremely confident with your sniping or you just have the ultimate high ground. The reason for this is because if you miss one shot, you're putting yourself in danger, and it ended up working out for you, but it almost ended up costing. If you look here in the gameplay, you're going to have the last guy in your sight, you're going to have your sniper out, and you're going to end up missing the shot. And it's not the biggest deal because you end up killing him anyways, but that missed shot could cost you a lot of the time. Overall though, while watching this gameplay and watching your two other gameplays, I have to say I'm very, very impressed. I'm not exactly sure of your KD, I haven't looked up your stats, but if I were to guess, you're probably between a 1.5 KD and 2 KD. And as I said, I could definitely be wrong, but you play like that of a 1.5 to 2 KD player, and that's extremely good. You have good movement fundamentals, you have a lot of good things like you pre-aim a lot, you grasp positioning, and all of the mistakes that I pointed out in this video were super small things, and you could definitely become a 3+ KD player in Warzone 2 by just working on these little things. Overall, I'm very impressed with the gameplay, and I'm super excited to be able to continue this series. And I just want to say a massive shout out and massive thank you to people like Punjab Prince who allow me to make these videos and use their gameplays. Once again, I just want to say thank you guys so much. Thank you for the awesome community I have. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's been Ryan. I hope you have a good day. Peace.